This conference will now be recorded.
Hey guys, can everyone hear me?
Yes,
Yes,
yes, sir, we can hear you.
Yes, we can
Yes,
hear
sir,
you.
we can hear you.
A very good morning and good evening for the folks joining from US. So welcome to our demo, guys. So couple of
Thanks.
things before we start. Either you can unmute yourself to ask any questions, or you can use your chat window. Okay. So let me first introduce myself, and then I'll walk you through the agenda. So I'm Suresh, guys. I have been into this training industry for almost 6.5 years now. I have been training folks on Python and big data technologies. I would say data engineering, cloud data engineering these days. Okay, and have trained more than 10 batches on Python, and I have close to 8 years of experience, industry experience, where I have worked with multiple MNCs like TCS, Deloitte, and the Big Four, EY, and Franklin Templeton, and I have got a chance to work with Google as a client when I was working for Deloitte, right? And got a chance to work on multiple domains, starting from sensor data, dealing with sensor data, to digital marketing, to forensic investigation, to financial domain, right? So I cannot mention my current company though, but yes, this is the experience I'm carrying. Like I said, I have trained more than 500 students on Python and more than 2000 students on big data over these 5.5 years. As a freelance trainer, I have been associated with premier institutes like Collabora, Cognitia. It's now called as Cognitia. And then I have taken a couple of batches for Edureka, and I have I have worked for Digital Link, and I'm with Career IT. Okay, so that's a brief introduction about me, guys. Maybe I would like to hear from you. You don't need to unmute yourself, but in your chat window, probably if you could mention maybe your name hyphen your experience hyphen the current technology you're working on, that would be a great help. So, for example, if it was me, Suresh hyphen my experience, years of experience, 8 years of experience, and then you know current technology I'm working on is Azure data engineer, or just you can mention Azure, something like this. If you are a fresher, just mention fresher, guys. You don't need to mention the current technology. Your name hyphen fresher. We'll take a couple of minutes for that, and then we'll get into our demo. Please use chat window for this, guys. Current years of experience on Oracle, Unix, Informatica, ETL. Cool. Fresher, Shiva. 5 years experience on Azure DevOps. Great. Fresher, STET, 6 years experience on Java. One more fresher we have. Point 5 years of experience in manual testing, data 360 Informatica Unix. We have a couple of 8+ years of experience into data engineer, Spark and Scala. Okay. Chandrashri fresher. So Mahesh, which distribution are you using to implement Spark applications? Mahesh. MapR. Okay. It's been long term. I heard this distribution MapR. Cool. I'm from your background, buddy. We use Databricks though. Azure Databricks. Cool. I think most of you have introduced yourself. So let me walk you through today's agenda, guys. Okay. So we'll start with introduction to Python. I mean, we'll see what exactly Python is. Okay, and then I'm gonna walk you through the course content and what I'm gonna cover during this course and how it would help you to progress in your career. Okay, and then I will be spending last 10 minutes for Q&A, last 10-15 minutes for Q&A. Okay, does that sounds like a plan?
Yeah.
Perfect. Then let's get started. And let's try to make this session as interactive as possible, guys. Okay. Let me open my whiteboard. So before we jump on to what exactly Python is, what is a programming language, guys, according to your knowledge? I mean, please use your chat window for interaction. Maybe for Q&As, you can unmute yourself and we can talk. So what according to you is a programming language, guys? I mean, what can you think of a programming language? No idea. I mean, the purpose of asking questions is just for an interaction, guys, not to test your knowledge. Okay, so you can use your Google if you want to, right? So programming language is nothing but a set of instructions given to a computer, guys. Okay, so um, when I say set of instructions, computer is not self-intelligent. Computer is not self-intelligent. Okay, but it can follow your instructions as is. Okay, so you are the one who would be giving instructions to the computer. It's a kind of the way to interact. Maybe you want to talk to a Tamil guy, you should know Tamil. Maybe you want to talk to a Telugu guy, you should be knowing Telugu. Similarly, you want to interact with your computer, you should be knowing one of the programming languages. Okay, so that's what a programming language is all about. It's a kind of set of instructions you provide to the computer to get your task done, as simple as that. Okay, so I always start any topic with a layman terminology, and then I would be using the appropriate jargons. Okay. So like I said, a programming language is nothing but a set of instructions which you would be passing on to your computer in order to get your task done. As simple as that. Okay. So there are different programming languages. I mean, most of us, maybe if you are from a computer science background or IT background in your BTech or maybe masters. Okay. So the first language you would be learning is C, then C++, then Java, then Python, and then talking about the modern languages like Scala, Golang. Okay, so there are a lot of programming languages that are there in the industry. I mean, each has a different purpose, and people would be relying on one or the other programming languages to get their task done. Okay, now, there are types of programming languages. Maybe in order to understand to what category Python falls into, you might have to understand the different classifications of programming languages. Okay, so one is low level versus high level. Okay, and then compiled versus interpreted, and third one is procedural versus object-oriented programming structures. Okay, so we will learn a lot when we discuss about these three classifications, right? Now, how a programming language works, guys? Let's just assume that this is your RAM, and then let's say this is your processor, and inside your processor, what are the instructions you would give to a computer would get executed on cores. Let's say these parallel lines or vertical lines are representing your processor cores. Okay, so maybe I would want you guys to look at look in a different direction of a programming language. Okay, let's say this is RAM, and then this is your processor, and then you have cores, right? So any software you are using, guys, maybe I'm running whiteboard software on my machine, and you see Google Chrome, you see Word document opened, and then I'm also running GoToMeeting. They're all nothing but processes. Okay, and for every software we are using, there is some program that is running in the backend. As simple as that. There is some program that is running at the backend. Maybe users wouldn't be able to run the piece of code they want to, so they have added a beautiful UI or that programming code. Okay, or that program. Maybe for example, I want to erase this. Maybe if I click on this eraser, a piece of code related to this erase functionality would be called in the backend. You are not doing that, but your programming language, whatever you have used, is providing you with that privilege to do that. Okay, similarly, maybe I'm selecting magenta pen. So I mean the functionality that a magenta pen can be done is being called in the backend, and those instructions would be executed in this course, one of the other course. Okay, so what are the program you write? That program would be executed on processor cores. As simple as that. And then the data that is required for running that application would be stored in RAM. The data that is required to run that application would be stored in RAM. Maybe you talk about VLC media player. One of my favorite examples, guys. Okay, you take a VLC media player. Maybe you want to play a .mp4 file. Okay, the moment you have clicked on that file would be loaded to RAM. Okay, and the set of instructions that are required for your computer to play that file is given via a VLC media player. So VLC media player is a app which can run your .mp4 files. When you're playing that file, those instructions on how to read that file would be executed on your processor. Okay, maybe you want to pause it. When you click on pause, the set of instructions to pause the file playing would be executed. Maybe you click on fast forward, the set of instructions that are required to fast forward your file would be executed in the backend on your processor cores. Okay, so again, like how many cores does a computer has? It could be a dual core processor, it could be a quad core processor, or octa core, or hexa core. Okay, or you can have 16 core, 32 core if you go to high end workstations or servers. Okay, so these cores is all about providing you with parallelism, guys. Okay, you have 4 cores, you can run 4 processes in parallel. You have octa-core processor, you can run 8 processes in parallel. You might ask me a question, boss, my mobile phone is octa-core, but I'm still able to open, 16 processes, 20 processes. How is that possible? So job scheduling would come into picture. Let's not get into the operating system concepts, but yes, job scheduling would come into picture there. So all these applications would be assigned resources, maybe based on an algorithm like round robin or least job first, sorry, shortest job first. There are multiple algorithms. I don't want to get into that, but yes, you can run any number of applications, though you are using a quad core or octa core processor, but job scheduling would be taking place. Okay, and even a small kid knows what to do when your phone is hanging. Maybe your kid is playing uh, a temple run game, or maybe a subway surfers game, and the moment he notices the phone is hanging, immediately he will open all the recent applications and he'll clear them off, just to give the RAM and the processor more space to accommodate this single application. Okay, so that he can play without any without any glitches. Okay, so this is about RAM and processor and cores, guys. So what are the set of instructions you are executing? They would be executed on your processor cores, and the data that is required, be it variables or be it data structures or be it anything, would be stored in RAM. Okay, maybe if you start understanding a programming language in this direction, a lot of concepts would become pretty easy for you. Okay, now talking about low level language and high level programming language. Any idea, guys, difference between low level and high level programming languages? Any idea? Today I'm going to provide a pretty high level information about these things, but when we start our course, we will deep dive. Okay, so low level and high level programming languages. High level programming languages are understandable to you. Okay, as a programmer, maybe if I can type that programming language in English, that is a high level language, as simple as that. And low level languages will have, low level languages are the ones which would be understandable by your computers. Okay, because at the end of the day, what does your computers can understand? Zeros and ones. Okay, so low level languages are the ones which can be understandable by your computers. Maybe just by looking at that low level languages, you will not be able to interpret anything. Okay. So these low level languages examples can be assembly level program, assembly language. Okay, and then talking about high level programming language, what are the programming languages we keep hearing, like C, C++, Java, Scala, Python? All these comes under this high level programming languages, guys. Okay, because you know uh, because C, C++ and other things, you would be writing code in English. Okay, so you use characters and numbers, as simple as that. Okay, low level programming languages is not understandable by you, but it is understandable by the computer. Now you might ask me a question, boss, if high level languages are not understandable by computer, how would computer be able to execute that code? So we have a component called compiler. We'll have a component called compiler for every programming language. If you are using C, you have a C compiler. If you are using C++, you have a C++ compiler. If you have Java, if you are using Java, you have Java compiler, Python compiler. So this compiler is the one which would take your programming language or take the set of instructions written by you and make sure that your code is free from all the errors and would convert it into a format which your computer can understand. Okay, I repeat. So this compiler is the one which takes your set of instructions or takes your code and then make sure that there are no errors in your code and would be converting your code into the machine understandable format. Okay, so compiler plays a crucial role, guys. Okay, for any programming language, C compiler, we have C++, C++ compiler, Java, we call that as Java C compiler. Okay, and then we have Python compiler, right? So to which category do you think Python would fall into, low level or high level? Now you understood the difference between low level and high level. So to which category Python would fall into, low level or high level? Yes. So Python is a high level programming language, guys. Okay. And then next comes the compiled versus interpreted difference. Compiled programming language versus interpreted programming language. Any idea there? Any idea? Cool. No worries. Let me explain. So compiled programming, compiled programming, yes, correct. Interpreted code is checked line by line. So compiled programming language, you write all the code at once. Maybe you want to read data from a file, and then maybe you want to get let's say you have a file, guys, and in that file you have employees data. And in that employees data you have one of the column which would define the designation of the employee. Okay, and then you have to write a code to read data from that employee file and get the all the employees whose designation is a manager. Okay, so in order to implement this use case, maybe if you are using a compiled programming language approach, okay, you will have to develop the entire code at once and then submit it to the compiler. The compiler would then compile your code and then execute it. Okay, now talking about interpreted programming language would give you a feasibility to execute your code step by step. Maybe I don't really need to write the entire code, or maybe at a first step I would be writing code to read data from a file. Okay, that's it. And in the second step, maybe I would write code to check the designation from the content of your file. Okay, and the third step, I would write to maybe store the list of managers into a different file and execute them separately. Okay, you don't even need to follow these steps. You can also run your code one line at a time and check the output. Okay, so in this approach, especially the interpreted programming languages approach, testing would made pretty easy, and even development too, because you don't need to develop the entire code and you don't need to write a lot of print statements just to see how your code is doing. Instead, you write a code and then check the output. You write a line of code and then check the output. Write a line of code and then check the output. That's the beauty of interpreted programming languages, guys. So at every single line, you know what output you are getting or where your logic is exactly standing. Okay, so that's the beauty of an interpreted language. Now Python is an interpreted language. Okay, you don't need to write the entire code and then test it or compile it or whatever, but you can write a single line of code and then check what the output is, so on and so forth. Okay, this is one of the best features of Python, I mean, which pushed me to learn Python and convert myself to a Python programmer. So when I started my career, I'm basically a Java developer, guys. I was writing, huge MapReduce codes back then in 2013, 2014. Okay, so I'm a typical Java developer, and then after seeing Python, I was like, there is no way I'm going back to Java or any other programming language. As simple as that. Dot. Maybe Scala. I would be preferring Scala over Java. Okay, so Scala is also an interpreted programming language. Okay, but talking about compiled language, all the other programming languages can come under compiled programming language. C, C++, Java, they are all compiled programming languages. And Python, Scala, they are interpreted programming language. Have you ever heard of this programming language called R? There is a language called R. Have you ever heard of this? Mostly used by data scientists to develop their machine learning algorithms. Okay, so this R is also an interpreted programming language, guys. Just to give you an example. Okay. Now, before we jump on to procedural versus OOPS, are we good with whatever we have discussed so far? Yes, no, maybe. Perfect. So moving on to procedural versus OOPS, like I said, I might not be able to give you, uh, perfect definition of procedural versus OOPS at this point in time. But Sindhu compiled language examples. C, C++, Java, they are all compiled languages, Sindhu. Okay, you have to write all the code, then compile it, and then execute it. Make sense? Perfect. Now moving on to procedural versus OOPS. So procedural programming language would let you develop code step by step. Okay, it doesn't have a classes attached to it. It doesn't have you don't really need to deal with the objects. Okay, and talking about object oriented programming structures, everything is an class and object there, guys. You want to do something, you have to write a class, and then you'll have to create an object for the class and then do the respective operations, be it calling a function or be it calling any variable or whatever. Okay, I know at this point in time it might look like some French and Latin to you, especially for the folks who are joining first time for a programming language, but eventually you'll get there. Okay, so that's the reason I too don't want to deep dive into this, but your Python would fall into both the categories, guys. Either you can write Python code in a procedural way, or you can also use OOPS concepts to develop your Python code. Okay, so Java is an object-oriented programming approach. You can't write a procedural way of code for Java. Okay, so Java is a pure object-oriented programming language. Then you have C and C++. C is procedural. C doesn't support object-oriented programming, and then C++ also supports procedural and object-oriented programming approach, and then Python also supports procedural and object-oriented programming approach. Okay, so when we talk about Python, Python could fall into both the categories, procedural and OOPS. Okay, like I said, maybe once I start object-oriented programming structure concepts in our course, you would be able to better interpret this. But at this point in time, I would just want you to understand Python would fall into both these things, both the categories. Okay, and now Python is interpreted. Characteristics of Python. If you talk about characteristics of Python, Python is interpreted, and then Python is a high-level programming language. Okay, and now applications. Before we jump on to applications, I would want to ask you a question again. I want every one of you to acknowledge this. Why did you choose to learn Python, guys? I'm expecting a single line answer in the chat window. Why did you choose to learn Python? I got the answers I'm looking for. So first and foremost thing, everyone of us want a good job, okay? Or maybe we want to switch our career to a better domain, as simple as that, okay? Maybe if you are a fresher, you want to land in a good job.Maybe if you are a experienced professional, you want to get into most happening technologies, okay? So this is the end goal of every one of us, either me teaching Python or you learning Python, as simple as that. And that is where these applications of Python I'm gonna walk you through. Okay, so Python is everywhere, guys, and trust me, what, in couple of years everyone would be talking only about Python, as simple as that. Okay, so we have one of the uh, developer from big data. Okay, so maybe he can also pitch in and answer this. Maybe a couple of years back or 3 years back, before Spark 1.5 was released, okay, people were predominantly relying on Scala because there is not much support offered in Java for developing Spark applications or big data applications. Okay, but after Python has been introduced, PySpark has been introduced after 1.5 version, Spark 1.5. The usage of Spark has been grown, tremendously, exponentially, I would say. Okay, so a lot of data scientists also started using Spark framework because they can write their machine learning algorithms in Python with minimal changes to the code, or maybe they can, migrate their existing code to the Python code with minimal changes. Okay, and data engineers, after PySpark has been introduced, data engineers started using PySpark because a typical skill set of a data engineer would be SQL, guys. A typical skill set of a data engineer would be SQL and data modeling. Okay, for them to use a big data environment like Spark or any other, technologies, they will have to learn Java earlier when there was MapReduce, and maybe later MapReduce when Spark came into picture, they'll have to learn Scala, which would be quite impossible. But learning Python and using Spark environment is, piece of cake. Okay, so people were able to, I mean, most of the organizations were able to onboard a lot of their data engineers onto big data framework by the help of Python. Okay, not just data engineers but also data scientists. You want to learn data science, you have to learn Python. You want to learn big data or any cloud related technologies, especially related to big data or data engineering, you have to learn Python. Okay, and can you point me any other technologies which are most happening than these two at this time in this market? Okay, as simple as that. And then maybe you want to get into full stack, yes, you can do that using Python. Maybe you want to get into automation tasks, yes, you can do it using Python. Maybe you want to get into desktop applications development, yes, you can use Python. Python is everywhere. But if you ask me, the predominant applications of Python today are data science and Spark, guys. Okay, so I would say PySpark and data science. These are the two applications, or these are the two areas where Python is being used left, right, and center. Okay, and then like most of you have said, Python is easy to learn. Okay, I can 100% tell you Python is damn easy to learn, guys. Okay, so maybe for any fresher to start with, or maybe if someone from non-programming language background or non-programming background can easily scale up on Python. Okay, now let me walk you through the curriculum. So let me walk you through the curriculum, and let me also tell you what is the intent of this Python course. This is a comprehensive Python course, guys. So I'm not dealing Python related to a domain. I'm not dealing Python related to data science, or I'm not dealing Python related to big data, or I'm not dealing Python related to web framework. I'm trying to get all these snippets under one umbrella to give you a holistic picture, so that maybe you want to learn data science after this course, you should be happily able to do that. Maybe you want to learn big data or Spark framework, yes, you should be able to happily do that. And maybe you want to get into web frameworks, yes, you should be happily do that. Okay, so that's how I have designed this course. Okay, and the module 1 is all about basics of Python, where I'll be walking you through what exactly Python is, how to set it up, and then we'll be walking you through generic programming concepts, which is common across all the programming languages. C, C++, Java, doesn't matter. Like keywords, variables, and data types, and then conditional statements, loops, control structures, arrays, functions. You can go through this document at any time, and then we'll deal with some Python inbuilt modules like date, calendar, and time delta, then string functions, string manipulation functions, Python lambda functions. Okay, so when you want to follow, um, career IT folks would be sharing that with you, Krish. Okay, lambda functions would help you to develop you know uh, Spark applications. And then file IO, then we'll be talking about collections. Okay, so in Python, these collections are also considered as data types, but I have a separate module for collections because they play a very important role in your application development. Okay, here I'll be walking you through lists, I'll be walking you through tuples, then we have dictionaries, then we have sets, and then talk about frozen sets. So this is the pretty important module. And then I'll be walking you through object-oriented programming concepts, object-oriented programming structures, where you'll get to see how the uh, object-oriented approach can be followed in your Python. We'll talk about class, we'll talk about object, we'll talk about polymorphism, we'll talk about constructors, we'll talk about inheritance. A lot of exciting topics there. Okay, so by the time we start OOPS concepts, you will feel like you are a pro in programming. You will get into that groove. And then these miscellaneous topics, which would help you to scale up in other areas. So I'll be walking you through exception handling. Then I'll show you how to use regex, regular expressions using Python. And then web scraping is not being covered these days, guys, because a lot of HTML knowledge is required there. Okay, and then Python assertion. Then I'm gonna walk you through APIs, which would help you to parse your JSON data. And then I'm gonna walk you through HTTP client APIs. Here I'm gonna talk about REST APIs. So what exactly a REST APIs is? Maybe I'm not gonna show you how to develop REST APIs, but I'm gonna show you how to use the existing REST APIs using Python client APIs. Okay, and then we have another topic called decorators and generators. And next module is about Python for data science, where I'll be walking you through packages that would help you while developing data science applications, NumPy, Pandas, and Matplotlib. And then we gonna talk about Python JDBC. Okay, I'm gonna show you how to set up a MySQL environment, and then I'm gonna walk you through what exactly a database is and the tables, and we'll show you how to do some CRUD operations using Python JDBC. CRUD operations, CRUD stands for create, read, update, and delete. Okay, so we are gonna do these 4 operations on your MySQL RDBMS. Then our final module, we will be spending 3 hours or 4 hours to introduce these couple of frameworks, Django and Flask. I'm not going to deep dive into this because our course is not a web programming or full stack course, but it's a comprehensive Python course. Okay, so like I said, once this course is done, you can go to the domain you want to get into, not domain, technology you want to get into, be it data science or machine learning, or be it big data or web framework or Python application development. Yes, you should be able to do that. Okay, and the environments I'm going to use here, I'm going to use Google Colab to introduce a notebook kind of environment, or we call that as REPL, read, evaluate, print loop. And then I'm going to use PyCharm to show you IDE way of doing things. And then I'm going to use, standalone Python as well. I mean, terminal, Python terminal, to show you how to execute your code in Python terminal without help of any IDE or any notebook kind of environment. Okay. And duration of this course would be 6 weeks, guys. 6 weeks. And you will have 6 sessions in each week. 6 sessions in a week. Okay. So Monday to Saturday, IST, which would be your Sunday evening to Friday evening. Okay. So 6 weeks and 6 sessions in a week, 36 hours. The total course duration would be 36 hours, where we will be dealing with a lot of concepts and then a lot of examples. Okay, so we have to stretch ourselves, guys, for these 6 weeks. For one reason, our curriculum is vast. Okay, like I said, I'm covering a lot of topics which a lot of other courses wouldn't cover. A lot of other institutes wouldn't cover, especially these concepts. These concepts, not just this, even these packages wouldn't be covered as a part of your Python course. They should be covered as a part of your data science course. But like I said, I don't want you to rely on another Python for data science course. So I'm gonna give you a good heads up for all these topics. Will you give practice questions for each topic? I won't be giving you a use case specific questions, Krish, but I'm gonna provide you with all the practice material you need. I'll be providing you the websites where you can practice questions. Okay, good websites. I mean, and the websites might change from topic to topic. Okay, so I'm going to show you ample number of examples. Okay, like I don't believe in giving you a lot of theoretical gyan, guys. Okay, I don't believe in giving you theoretical gyan. So I'm kind of a hands-on guy. Okay, I always believe in hands-on, but at the same time you should be balancing that with theory as well, because neither complete theoretical knowledge nor complete hands-on knowledge would fetch you a job. So you'll have the mix of both. Okay, so for every topic I'm going to teach, you'll have the balanced content. Maybe let me show you. uh, Python functions. So we'll talk about what a function is and how to define a function, and then we'll have enough examples for you to understand this concept. Okay, so these are all the different examples, guys. Calculate EMI, and then thing Armstrong number, then I'm going to walk you through recursion, and then Fibonacci series using recursion, and then passing variable arguments. So for every topic I teach, you will have good number of examples given in the session. And then I'll be providing you with the links where you can find more examples on the topic. And we will also do some workshops wherever it is required. So for example, like I said, I don't believe in giving you boring sessions every day. So we will kind of do some exciting stuff during workshops. Okay, like implementing games. This is one game, sticks game, and then this is another game, guessing game. Similarly, you will have examples which wouldn't be typically bookish. Okay, I kind of take examples from my own experience, or I kind of take some games, or I kind of there is this channel called Programming Hero in YouTube. I mean, one of my favorite channels when it comes to learning Python, guys. That guy would make things so interesting. Okay, he teach Python by some exciting examples, I would say. I mean, couple of examples like you write a simple Python code which would never let your system sleep. Okay. Now these days, especially in work from home, I would run that code and I'll leave my system so that I will appear online, throughout the day. Okay. Maybe you want to send a WhatsApp message. He has a tutorial on how to do that just by using 2 lines or 3 lines, or maybe how to build your own browser without having to use Chrome or Safari or whatever. Okay. So those kind of examples. So even I would also want to teach Python in the same way, but that's not practically possible. So I have added such kind of examples wherever I can in our curriculum, so that it would bring more interesting rather than teaching programming concepts every single day, and at one point in time you will feel bored. So I don't want to get into that. So that's how I have designed my course. Like I said, I'll be walking you through um, competitive programming platforms as well. HackerRank or Lead Code. I mean, Lead Code is too early to talk about Lead Code now, but at least HackerRank you have entry level questions, so you can start practicing problem statements from those questions. Okay. And then, like I said, REST APIs, this is another example, guys. I mean, I have taken this topic last Thursday or Friday. So I'll be taking some open source REST APIs to show you how you can play around with REST APIs. Okay. Like I said, a lot of exciting topics coming up. Okay. So that is the reason I would need solid 6 weeks. So cannot be completed before that. Okay. And 6 sessions a week. Okay. Now I will wait for a few minutes for your Q&A, guys. Have any questions? You can use chat window, or maybe you want to talk to get things clarified. You can unmute yourself and ask the question. Questions? Naveen, do we have any sort of assessments at the end of each chapter or concept? No. Okay. So I don't believe in assessments or anything else, because we are not going to handhold you. So we believe you are a professional, and you will show the highest level of integrity when it comes to learning. Okay. Like we don't want to create a college kind of environment. Okay, giving you assessments and all, right? So we will teach the topic, and we will give practice problems from our end wherever it is required, and we will give you links from where you can practice from. Okay. So kind of a mentor and mentee relation. That's what we are going to maintain. Okay. So will you tell us how to open Python tomorrow? Or what is opening Python, Krish? Can you be specific? Yeah. I mean, you don't need anything. You just need to install Python in your system if you want to. But if you want to use cloud, if you have a Gmail account, you can get to this environment and get started. But I'm going to walk you through anyway. Any other questions, guys? Like I said, demo is all about giving you some introduction and then walking you through the course and addressing your questions and answers, guys. So I'll not be able to show you how to install Python today, but yes, once the session starts, I eventually have to do that. Nishad, daily we have class from 8 a.m. to 9 a.m. Mostly that would be the timings, buddy, but our career IT folks would be confirming you on that. But mostly, yes. How much packages, Harika? You're from India or US? You're joining from India or US? Okay. Fresher or experienced? It also depends on the technology you are working on. Okay. So I don't want to reveal my package. I'm a Python developer. I mean, not typical Python developer, but I use Python to develop data engineering applications, and I'm earning good enough. Okay, and maybe I can give you a range. People with my experience, 8 years, can get anywhere between 15 to 30 lakh. Okay, depending on which type of company you are working for. Maybe service companies, you would get around 15 to 20 lakh. And if you're working for a domain companies like finance domain companies, or maybe healthcare companies, or maybe insurance companies, you can expect anywhere in between 25 to 30 easily. And same is the case with freshers. Usually domain companies wouldn't hire freshers. Okay, so service companies also have different packages these days. TCS or Infosys, they are having two types of recruitments, right? A normal package, and they call the other package as digital package. Okay, so learning my course would give you a 3 to 4 lakh package. Okay, maybe if you could learn DSA along with my course, data structures and algorithms, understanding time complexity, space complexity, and then if you can deep dive into problem solving, you might end up somewhere between 12 lakh to 15 lakh as a fresher. If you land in Amazon, Google, Microsoft, okay, so they all expect these things. So that's where this lead code would help you. If you could solve a couple of problem statements from this lead code, you should be able to grab that package. I have seen a lot of freshers doing that. But like I said, for anything, you'll have to start somewhere. But my package, confidently, you can get 3 to 4 lakh or maybe 5 lakh as a fresher. Again, talking about data scientist, these days, data scientist or data engineer, they are getting almost the equal package. Okay, so they would be getting somewhere around uh, in India 15 to 20. And talking about US market, for 8-year experience, 9-year experience, your clients are paying close to 75 to $100 per hour. I'm not exaggerating. Maybe you can use the job portals over there and you can check it out. If you are a contract role, if you are working on a contract role, not sure about a full-time role there in US, but most of the time I'm associated with the contractors, so I can tell you easily you can get somewhere around $65 to $100 based on your experience and how you perform in your interviews. I'm talking about hourly billing, guys. Hope I have answered your question, Harika. For attending sessions, mobile is enough, but for practicing, you definitely need a laptop. Might not be a high-end laptop, but even a basic laptop will do. You can use Google Colab. If you can open Chrome and you can run Chrome, that will do. Any other questions, guys? Cool. Then that's a wrap for our demo. Thank you so much for giving us this opportunity and attending this session. Okay. Hope to see most of you in my session tomorrow. I'm excited. Yes, you get recordings, Naveen. You get recordings for every single session. If you miss, you can go through the recordings. And if you still want, yeah, Krish, I was informed about that. Okay. And maybe if you want one-on-one discussion, you can also have that during our course. Nishad, where can we find that recordings? They will be uploading them to your drive, and they would share it with you. Okay, you'll get an email with a drive link. So all the content I'm showing you, all these collab notebooks, all these uh, .py files and recordings would be uploaded. And links I'll be sharing directly in the session in your chat window. You can probably copy and paste them somewhere. I'm done, guys. If you don't have any questions, you may feel free to leave. If you have any questions, please stay back, and I'll be waiting few more minutes to see if you have any questions. Thank you. Shiva, I'm not the right person to answer that question, buddy. You can get that information from Career IT folks, Career IT support folks. I think they will be sharing all those details with you soon, right after this session.
Yes, this is Vital. I have years of experience in automation testing with Java 7.
Sorry.
So this is Vital.
Hi,
Am I
Vital.
audible?
Yeah, you
Yeah.
are audible.
I have six. Okay, I have 6 years of experience in automation training with Java. So I would like to learn the Python to do the automation with Python. So which one I choose? Automation with Python or only Python, pure Python course? We are providing the both courses, right?
I'm not going to deal anything related to automation, Vital. So
Yeah,
as I said, yeah, this is a complete Python course, but I'm not going to
yeah, I
cover any
know.
modules related to automation. Yeah.
Yeah. I know, but I know automation. So is it sufficient to learn with Python only? No, I know automation with Java.
So what
So
I
is it
feel
good
is
to?
perception. Yeah, perception changes from person to person. So what I always believe is if you know one programming language, learning another programming language is pretty easy because concepts doesn't change. You use a for loop, you use a while loop, or maybe you write conditionals, control structures, or conditional statements like a break or pass or whatever. Okay, the concept doesn't change. Only syntax changes. So once we are
Yeah,
comfortable with one programming language, you can scale up on any other programming language. Like I have hands-on with Java, Scala, Python, and also Lua. Lua is a programming language which is used in Google.
okay.
Okay. So I always look at a programming language in this way. Maybe I want to implement a code. If I could figure out the solution, I get syntaxes from Google. All I just need to do is assemble them. As simple as that. So when I learn any programming language, I learn the basic concepts and then I'll jump on to implementation. That's how I look at a programming language. Okay. So for any Java developer, Python would look very easy. Okay. Because you are already dealing with one of the complex languages in the industry. You never feel like going back to Java if you learn Python.
Okay, Suresh, yeah, thanks for the clarification.
Does it answer your question, Vital?
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. Cool. Vijay garu, are you there, Andy? Hello. Is there anyone from Career IT support in the meeting? Krish, I think we can talk now. I can't hear you, Krish. Krish, I still can't hear you. Yeah, you have unmuted yourself, but I couldn't hear you. Do you have a problem with your mic? Yes, can you please try doing that? Still no luck, buddy. I could see you have unmuted yourself, but I can't hear you. Maybe try unplugging your headsets and talk. Oh, you're not using headphones, okay. Yes, they can. Just get in touch with them and tell them tell them you are facing this problem, and they would find out a way for you to reach out to me. Does that make sense? Perfect. Then I'm wrapping up this session. Thank you, guys. Yeah, see you tomorrow. Bye bye.